Welcome, everybody. Let's talk about toxins in our environment because they exist. And when we acknowledge them, we can remedy against them. For me, I grew up in Michigan, pretty much standard American household. Parents ate standard American diet. We had things like ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese. And my mom, every once in a while, made a regular dinner of spaghetti made with, probably whatever was on sale from the grocery store. And I remember I had headaches my entire childhood. Extreme headaches, extreme dry skin, sick all the time. But the headaches were really like just splitting headaches, probably because of a mixture of not being nourished, having an overload of toxins in the body. And also, I was small. I was actually the smallest kid in my class. I just remembered this. I was the smallest kid in my class pretty much up into high school. Oh, I wish I could show you guys a picture. If I have my other phone, there's my 10th grade picture looks like I'm in 3rd grade. It's absolutely ridiculous how small I was. So I wasn't developing as a human, probably not even developing psychologically, mentally, emotionally, as well as physically because of standard American diet. I started working out when I was around 19. I remember being 145 pounds as a 19-year-old. I was playing hockey. So against grown men, I kept on hurting my shoulders because hockey, I like to use my body in hockey. So I kept on injuring myself. So I started working out. When I started working out, I started learning about food. And the crazy thing is, before that moment, I just thought food was food. You just eat the stuff that's in front of you. It tastes well. You kind of have a little bit of idea about macronutrients and eat your vegetables and vitamins and stuff like that, which you just kind of assume that is in food. Well, it's not. And so the gym really allowed me to start focusing on diet, focusing on macronutrients, focusing on a little bit of micronutrients, but then eventually this thing called organic comes along, right? And I start seeing that there's differences in how even like animal products are raised and then also organic. And I start learning, like 25 years ago, I start learning that some foods have sprays on them. Some foods are using fertilizer because they're growing in times of the season when they really shouldn't be growing, or they're growing in altitudes or places on earth where they really shouldn't be growing. And so it goes beyond organic, right? It's not just about pesticides and herbicides and fungicides, which are all poisons that are meant to poison the earth. And really it destroys the microbiome or the biome, the microbiology of the earth. And then that's why fungus, that's why plants like weeds, and that's why pests die, because it destroys the microorganisms. It destroys certain pathways of the microorganisms. Then we eat that food and it goes in and it destroys the microorganisms in our belly. Guys, we think that Western science is at the peak of all it is to know and like everything's figured out. It's absolutely not the case. Our scientists are arguing about a lot of things, and then the peer-reviewed process is subject to corruption. It's subject to bribery. It's subject to a lot of things that the end result is we get stuff in our food supply and our drinking water that really shouldn't be there. We have fluoride in our drinking water, which is a waste product, I believe, from the aluminum industry. What industry is fluoride a waste product from? I want to say it's like chlorofluoride or something like that. Fluoride is a waste product primarily from the phosphate fertilizer industry, specifically from the production of phosphate rock used in fertilizer. Why it's also a byproduct of other industries like aluminum. Did I say aluminum? I think I said aluminum. A byproduct of the aluminum industries and iron ore manufacturing, the phosphate industry is the largest contributor. These industries often release fluoride compounds as a byproduct that can be captured and purified for use in water fluoridation and other applications. So guys, think about it. think about it. This is the gift of capitalism, right? We've got these companies and they've got waste products from what they're manufacturing. That waste product is toxic waste. So you guys remember like in the cartoons where there's like toxic waste and it's killing everybody? Scott's saying when they made the atom bomb, fluoride was a byproduct they wanted to hide. I just released the impact of using mascara hormone disruptors. Yeah. Fer Dixon saying it's a scam. I was forgetting to read the comments this entire time. So back to capitalism. You're on the board of a corporation. Your job is to increase the shareholders' stock prices. Otherwise, you get voted off the board. So you're on the board of this multi-million-dollar company that's producing things like aluminum and phosphate fertilizer. And up comes the question, what do we do with this waste product that costs us thousands of dollars a truckload to get rid of? What do we do with it? And because you also have shares in the company, but you're being pressured by your shareholders to do one thing, which is increase the bottom line, and you have a cost, which is getting rid of waste product, somebody on the board or somebody down the chain that the decision comes to the board says, hey, we can take this waste and through a process of chemical interactions, we can turn it into something that we can convince is usable. We can convince the government to put it in the drinking supply. And in that way, there's a never-ending avenue that we can flush this toxic waste to. And the best part is they're going to pay for it. Of course, you can see the corporate structure has no concern for human health. No concern. Their concern is increase shareholder stock prices. And so that's how fluoride goes from being a waste product that a company would have to pay to get rid of to let's drink it down our throats. Let's say that it's going to calcify. Let's produce the science. Guys, there's something called ghostwriting where they produce studies and then pay scientists to write their name on that, like, yeah, we did this. We did this study. There's things called lobbyists. Lobbying, for some reason, is legal, where you can just pay essentially to get politicians to vote a certain way. And also the whole system is set up so that you receive money to campaign and then you owe those favors back to the people that pay the money. Well, guess who pays the most money? The biggest corporations that have the most, who then in turn own the most politicians and have the most control over the laws that are being made or the mandates that are not being enforced against themselves. And that's the beautiful, beautiful free country of, like, I'm just speaking personally from the USA that we live in. And anyways, this whole thing started because I started exercising. I also was going to school for exercise science and psychology, and thankfully recognized that that whole system is also a scam. The colleges I'm referring to, the education system, right? Because we've got the food supply, we've got the drinking water supply, we've got the medical industry, we've got all of that working in cahoots. They all benefit from what? They benefit from humans having problems. They benefit from humans not being powerful, not asking questions. So let's fluorinate the water so it can calcify the pineal gland so that they're not sleeping properly. They're not producing, you know what the pineal gland does? Serotonin production is a minor part of it. The major part of it is melatonin production. So melatonin helps you sleep and regenerate all of your cells, not to mention connect with greater versions of yourself, greater dimensions of yourself. And serotonin is what makes you feel happy. And so let's cut that off from the humans so that they're in a state of survival and not regenerating at night when they sleep. And so that they're always seeking for something more. And they're going to go into the entertainment industry, which is then going to push advertisement of alcohol and lack. You cannot drive this fancy car. You cannot have this beautiful partner. You cannot go to these parts of the world. And it's going to force people into a feeding frenzy of buying cheap stuff so that they forever remain in debt, unable to ask any questions because they don't even know they should be asking questions because they're working to pay off their debt. So they're working from the time they get up to the time they go to sleep, and like forget about having a family because they cost money. Forget about even getting married. Like, why even stay with this partner? They're causing me stress, but it's really not the partner that's causing stress. It's like all this other stuff. So we have broken homes. We have broken inner vision, inner trust. And so who do we trust? We trust the authority. We trust the TV. We trust the politicians. We trust the celebrities. We trust the doctors, the new doctors. Doctor used to mean teacher. So if I look up etymology of doctor, derives from the Latin verb docere, which means to teach. It was originally used as an academic title for scholars and teachers in medieval Europe. So doctor was always a teacher. In the 13th century, the title was bestowed upon individuals who had earned a doctorate degree, such as a doctor of medicine or a doctor of philosophy. What does that mean? That means that doctors originally were teachers until that title got hijacked. And who did it get hijacked by? Well, an industry I haven't mentioned yet, the oil industry. Back to capitalism, back to Rockefeller. We have all of this product called oil, and it's, like we we paved over. We've learned to turn it to gasoline, which was also a waste product of kerosene, which is like, it's like always about like, okay, we're producing this product. We got this waste we have to pay for. How do we turn that into profit? And then we get like this whole huge cycle of profit. So we've got the solar's here. So we've got this whole huge profiting thing. So we've got this oil. And so what can we do with it besides gasoline, which what they did was they went and bought, like in LA, the gasoline companies, which are really the oil companies, went and bought all of the railroad companies that had public transportation. They went and bought all the railroad companies. I think one of those is called Red Car. I think was one of those companies, Red Car Railroad. Yeah. And they bought all the railroad companies and then just shut them down and paved streets over the railroad tracks. So in LA, everywhere, I used to have gyms in downtown LA. You see railroad tracks like kind of like underneath the streets because they were bought, shut down. They shut down an entire industry so that gasoline sales will go up, so that people have to buy cars. Now, the oil companies, Rockefeller was like, we can also make oil-based pharmaceuticals out of petroleum. And so they started making drugs, oil-based pharmaceuticals. And then those drugs needed customers. And I had notes that I was going to look at, but I'm not even on the track I was supposed to go on. And this is all just from memory. So I might say a word wrong or something. I don't know. I've had a lot of concussions, so sometimes I say a word off, but you guys can understand what I'm saying. So oil-based pharmaceuticals, they need customers. Let's pour money into the industries that make people sick so that they come to be customers. So candy companies, if you guys even know like the cereal company or the cereal industry, how that whole thing got started, which I'll get into with Dr. Kellogg. That's an amazing story about, I'm just going to go on a tangent right now. Dr. Kellogg was this radical religious person who really hated masturbation and thought that masturbation was like the devil and that we needed to do anything and everything to get rid of it. So he did two amazing, and I'm saying amazing because it still lives on today. Two of his main contributions were circumcision and Kellogg's cornflakes. And the reason for the two is let's circumcise the boys to take their most sensitive body part away from them with the thinking that they wouldn't touch themselves when they get older. Obviously, number one, it doesn't work. Number two, you're destroying the human body when you do that. Energetically, physically, you're ruining sensitivity. You're increasing the likelihood of performance problems. And there's really no good reason to do it. It's not any cleaner. And society has accepted that as the norm. I know, buddy. I know. Your mom put you in this room. I don't know why, if I'm recording something, but now you get to complain for me. Okay, so chop off basically genital mutilation of little boys. And then his other great idea was, let's produce a food product that will malnourish them, reduce testosterone, so that that'll further his agenda of anti-masturbation. And so Kellogg's Corn Flakes was originally developed to make you less capable as a human. Let's see if Google aligns with this. I'm not sure if they're going to. Was Kellogg's Corn Flakes developed to make people have less? I'm just going to put testosterone. No, Kellogg's Corn Flakes were not developed to reduce testosterone. They were originally designed as an edible breakfast. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I just pulled up something from Forbes.com and they want me to pay $59 to read the article. Okay, so Corn Flakes was part of a health movement called biological living. So he wanted to get people away from meat and potatoes, which is a good story. He was a vegetarian. He created or invented foods like peanut butter and meatless meat. Okay, so the mainstream story, what I'm getting right now, is not aligning to what I'm saying. But, all right. So the mainstream story is not aligning, which is okay. But that's how this all fits in, is that we're being attacked to be disempowered. And it's an amazing time for us to be here because we're obviously here to make a difference, right? We're obviously here living to experience this and to experiment with our creation powers to do something about it. Pointing the finger like I have been for the last 30 minutes, and I can go on and on and on. I was going to make the point that the medical industries ended up transitioning all of the universities to pharmaceutical employees, right? That's what the new doctor is. It's a pharmaceutical pusher. I'm just going to move Solar to another room. I'll keep him here. So essentially, all the universities now are. Should I use the word all? The goal was that all the universities be owned by the pharmaceutical companies, and then they forced the closure or shut down or purchased and shut down the alternative medicine is what they call it now, but it's actually the real medicine. It's the medicine that utilize the body's own mechanisms of healing. Like, we're not supposed to use that word anymore, but the body has its own repair mechanism, and doing things like stimulating certain meridians around the body to increase energy to certain organs can empower the body to fix itself, because with the energy comes the medicine. So all of that stuff was shut down, and anyone that's practicing acupuncture, chiropractic, all looked at as kooks. We almost lost most all of that, right? But luckily, there's other parts of the world that kept on going that are thousands of years older of a culture. But in North America, we shut them all down. So all the universities that we mostly know of are owned by the pharmaceutical companies for the sole purpose of producing doctors that prescribe their product to the population of created sick people. They've been created. Now, do universities also produce people that are like engineers? Yes, they do. And do they produce maybe some programming that is beneficial to the human that enrolls and society? Yes, it does. Just like I produce content. That's not a good example. Like monetization. I was going to make the point of monetization. So they produce some good, but they monetize with the feedback loop of doctors prescribing pharmaceuticals. So it's the monetization of the other things that are beneficial. And unfortunately, the monetization model is so destructive to humanity. I personally have a biased opinion thinking that the good that's coming out of it is not worth the cost of what's necessary for it to exist, which is it being monetized, it being monetizable through the sickness of humans. Because when that's the case, right, when the customer is a sick human, then the industry needs more customers. That's like the only thing that matters. How can we fill hospital beds? How can we fill doctors' offices? And then so they start collaborating with other industries like the agriculture industry, and they start ushering in chemicals into the food supply. And it all just kind of works together, equaling sick human being. Now, why am I saying all this? Because I was lucky enough, at least as a very young human, to start discovering this, to start researching it, and start making changes in my life. And I will say that when I was able to change my diet, start eating more organic, that's when I actually stepped into the full state of myself, like the full spectrum awareness of self, and started discovering that who I was being, this sick, headache-ridden, unworthy, confused, small person, was this version of me that had been taken advantage of. And so I eventually moved to California. I opened up gyms and I started teaching people about diet, started teaching people about movement, eventually started teaching people about my original passion, which was psychology. So psychology, meditation, our relationship to self, our relationship to reality, our relationship to others. And I have a pretty balanced perspective on how we fit into society and how we fit into ourself. And detoxifying ourselves is very important. And I would start, guys, with food, obviously, but then start moving into household products. So what are you cleaning your floor with? What are you cleaning your hair with? What are you cleaning your body with? What are you cleaning your hands with? What are you cleaning your dishes with, guys? Putting corrosive, toxic things on your dish sponge, which is soaking into your hands, and you wash your dishes, you clean them off. It's still on your dishes, which then you're going to be putting your food onto and then eating. What type of metals you're using for your utensils, what pans are you using, get rid of, like literally throw away anything that's non-stick, that has forever chemicals in it. Start making better food choices. It doesn't necessarily need to be more expensive. You might just have to drive to a farmer's market or to another market in another city that has better quality products. You may even have to move. I moved out of my city that didn't care about any of this. Michigan was always the first or second ranked unhealthiest state back 20-ish years ago when I moved out of Michigan as a 23-year-old. I'm about to be 43 right now. So once you start changing over your household products, your laundry detergent is a big one, guys. Do you really need that stuff to go on your clothes? Like, how dirty are your clothes? You need that stuff to go onto your clothes, and then you're going to be wearing those chemicals all day long. Dryer sheets, get rid of them. That's like, and guys, when you go into Airbnbs, the worst thing about the Airbnb experience is the laundry of the bed sheets. I most of the time can't even sleep until I do something about it. So what they're doing, because they're quick turnover time, they're usually putting the washing machine with their toxic chemicals on quick wash, which means what? That it's not really rinsing it out. So you have these sheets that are like, and this is me being sensitive because I haven't used laundry detergent, like conventional laundry detergent, in over 20 years. But they're putting on quick wash, so they're not actually rinsing all the, and they're using the same amount of laundry detergent, and they're not actually washing all the laundry detergent out. And then they just put it on what, to make it smell better and make it softer, they're putting dryer sheets in there. And now you're like going on this beautiful vacation, just soaking in this slew of crap. And you are led to believe that it's beautiful because it smells like flowers. It doesn't smell like flowers. It smells like some chemical alteration that's made to make you think that it smells like flowers. Solar, I know, you have to stay. He's going nuts because We have company with dogs downstairs. You look no older than 33. Where do I live now? I moved to LA, Los Angeles. Solar. No. And then and now I live just like an hour north in Ventura. Please note that the food in the US is more toxic than in Europe, where we got far more legislation on food production. That's true. I was in Italy not too long ago, and the food in the train was better than any, like the most prestigious organic restaurants here in America. The food in the gas station was better than the most organic places in America. The food at the lounge in the airport was better than the best organic restaurants that I know of in Los Angeles, guys. Eating a cannoli, eating a pizza from the airport in Italy, I felt more life force in that food than I do if I go to the most organic restaurant and order like the healthiest thing there. It's nuts. And so that's one thing to be thankful for if you may desire to live in America and you can't get over here. I'm from the Netherlands and they're selling a lot of GMO foods here. Luckily, they have bio supermarkets, which is like their word for organic. Also with biodynamic veggies or just the locals who sell bio, I suggest you all do the same. Yeah, guys, it's infiltrating. So like glyphosate's in South America, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, which is produced by Monsanto, which is a chemical company, used to produce chemicals for the war. And back to like capitalism, if you're producing for the war machine and then the war ends, now you're like, okay, what do we do with all this poison, right? Like it's like in Germany, they're poison, like the concentration camps, gas chambers, and then the war ends and they're like, well, we're got good at producing this poison. What do we do? Enter in insecticides sold to the food supply to put on the things that we eat. Like it's let me see, this guy, he's a German who and I think his name is it's the same name as the guy that developed the school system. Not the same full name, but I think it's the same first name of the German who developed our modern day school system, which was produced to develop soldiers who would listen to directions. Who invented pesticides? This is going back to the Sumerians. Fritz Haber. No, that's not the same name as the guy that invented the modern day school system, which he actually borrowed inspiration from North America when we were very, very, very prejudiced against, I don't even know what to call them because I'm not certain if they're from Africa, but we'll just say black people. Or the political but yet questionable origin, that word that we use, which is African Americans. So Fritz Haber, Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1918 for the invention of the Haber process. Okay, so you guys see how that all kind of intertwines together. Solar, come here. Okay. Let's get some grounding here. Because we're all here for this. Rudolf Steiner. No, Rudolf Steiner is actually schooling's another thing, guys. Like in Waldorf schools by Rudolf Steiner, the kids are experimenting. The kids are asking the questions. Let me just get you guys the name of the Wilhelm von Humboldt is who I was thinking of. Laying the foundation of the modern school system. It's saying 1809. That's really far back. It's not lining up to my story, is it? Okay. Anyways, moving along. We're here for this. Pointing fingers is not the point, right? The point is solutions. What are the solutions for this? What is the solution for the food supply? What is the solution for the school system that's producing corporate workers and or prisoners and or soldiers? You guys see how that funnels through? It's like if we're going to be programming people in their younger years before they know to ask questions or spot inconsistencies of their good versus what they're being taught. You know, you start going to school when you're like 3 or 4 years old in kindergarten. And I wonder what kindergarten means. children's garden. So they're growing a crop. They're growing a field of humans, and they're going to design them in the way that fits the agenda, which is corporate workers, prisoners, or soldiers. And then we have the Ivy League, and the Ivy League's job is to manage those, to manage the employee, prisoner, or soldier. And that's what the modern day school system is made to funnel. When we recognize that, we will quit sending our children to this funnel, and we will start taking back our own control. At the very least, when they come home from school, give them a more balanced perspective of what life truly is, and not leave it up to the teachers to teach our children everything about life, and then the TV as backup or the devices as backup. So really be concerned on what we're ingesting in terms of education, in terms of food, in terms of the drinks that we're drinking, in terms of the entertainment choices that we're using. And we get to take responsibility for ourselves. This is the purpose of why we're here. This is the pressure that we're in that's going to allow us to create anew, to create something that's more in tunement to what we are feeling. And I was just talking to Christopher Witecki a couple of days ago live on here, and he was talking about the time that you start realizing your house is really dirty is when you're starting to clean it. When you start cleaning it, you start seeing all of the mess. And so a lot of us are waking up to the mess, and that's because we have the capacity to create what's next. And so it's our role to find alignment within everything. Like, that's what we're here to do, is find alignment. That's what our mind is doing. Our mind is finding alignment on what it knows to what's going on in our senses. And so our mind is just doing this one job. It's taking the programming that we know of, and it's making alignment, and it's seeing proof of that. However, there's more to us than what our senses are taking in and have taken in historically, and our mind. There's also our heart, which is also thinking. There's our body, which has its own needs and desires. And there's our gut. And we've been ignoring this part of us. We ignore this part of us because we were taught that we need to go to work to pay the bills, to get the house, to get the wife, to get the kids, to then retire happily at 65 years old. And so the mind is okay just sitting in a chair all day long and working and staring at a computer, not realizing that the body is suffering, the heart is suffering, the gut is suffering. When was the last time you had a good belly laugh? And so we're suffering because we're disconnected. We're just living up here. And so open up. What does your body feel like today? Feels like going outside? Go outside. What does your heart feel like? Your heart feels like laughing with no worries? How can you align to that? What does your gut feel like today? Well, it feels like not being poisoned by every single thing that gets consumed. Find a way around that. And then you're going to start recognizing that everything that you know of may be a little off the mark. And that's good news. And I'm challenging everyone, and I always have my entire life, to constantly be present with the current moment and recognize that what worked for you in the past might not be working for you today, and ask the question, is this in alignment with me now? What's the greatest expression of how I should be acting now, without using the word should? But like, when you see something in front of you, what's the greatest expression of yourself? What does that person do? And if you're constantly making the choices aligned to the fullest, greatest expression of all of yourself, you will eventually create a reality where it's the greatest, fullest expression of self. What is your job? Is your job in alignment? Let me see. What percentage of people hate their job? Not that Google is the end all be all, but it's a start. We can argue over like whether this is true or not. Some studies suggest that as high as 85% of workers dislike their job. A 2022 Gallup report indicates that only a minority of employees feel engaged at work, with a large portion feeling detached or even miserable. That means a large portion of people watching right now are feeling detached or miserable and not engaged in their career. And how valuable are you to yourself if that's the case? How valuable are you being to your family? And are you supporting an industry, one of these industries I've talked about, that's contributing to the mess? It's up to us to detach from the security, from the comfort of the industries that have a stranglehold on literally the world, and start supporting with our life force, with our careers. Etymology of career. Career originates from the Latin word carus, meaning chariot or wheeled vehicle. That's actually amazing. This evolved into the French word carrière, meaning road or race course. The sense of course of one's public or professional life. So career actually means course. It's your vehicle of expression here. It's what takes you places. And so if your vehicle of expression is not going to the destinations of your desires, if it's not supporting an earth that's healthy, it's not supporting the health of humans, what course are you on? I actually work with tons of people with Purium where you can align your purpose to the career. We have guaranteed money back ways. We have solutions to a lot of the problems that I mentioned. We literally see people's lives get saved on our programs, and it's up to us to spread this mission and create opportunities for doctors, chiropractors, gym owners, moms, nurses, salon owners that are interacting with a lot of people. And so that those people know where to get food in a way that's nourishing, detoxifying the body, and repairing the body so that we can get out of the hole that's been caused by the agriculture industry, by the pharmaceutical industry, by whatever they're spraying in the clouds, whatever industry you call that, weather, geomanipulation, population control, whatever. Population. Good old Bill Gates and population control. So we have solutions for that. And like I said, I work with tons of people, even myself, even my wife. My wife was an architect sitting around tables with a bunch of unhealthy people talking about buildings. And she was like, I wish I could be talking about the building supplies of the human, because that's actually what every obese, weak person that she was looking around the room, she's like, these people need better building supplies for themselves, let alone let's talking about building supplies of the buildings that we're building. And so we're both now aligned to a mission that supports health of humans. And it's just a little tangent I went on, but if you guys are interested in learning more about that, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, so Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, I've got we're going to hear from like 7 or 8 people on how they did this and what it is that we do. So I'm hosting that call. Just DM raw_of_earth. DM me OPP, and I will send you information about how to get onto that. Now back to us, back to what it is that we're doing and what to do about it. Guys, we live for the reason of a lesson. That's the reason for our experience here. So whether we're in some test from God and we're going to go to heaven after this or hell, or this is evolutionary, like gravitational model of the universe, or we're an alien ant farm and the aliens are kind of like extraterrestrials are making interdimensional and extraterrestrial organisms and entities are making experiments to see how we would react, or this is a matrix and it's a technological universe and maybe even a copy of a copy of a copy, and this is just a video game. No matter what it is, the point is to learn. So guys, one more time, it's OPP, and DM at raw_of_earth. And I'll get back to you there. So let me just put at, and I'll get back to the alien ant farm stuff. So no matter what you believe, like flat earth, round earth, multiple earths, no matter what you believe, the point is to learn, to see this as a lesson, to evolve through it. And then what? The main point is to integrate it back in to our own life and eventually through our children, and the lineages of people that we will interact with. Because every interaction that we have is touch of energy. It's like a dash of energy that you are dashing, sprinkling onto every interaction that you have. And you, as a learned human, that sprinkle will offer perspective to others. It's just like, you guys seen ants? They're like always bumping into each other because their antennas are doing a chemical interaction. It's kind of like the dendrites in our brain, and it's telling information to the ants. So if you guys look at a bunch of ants, you're going to see that two ants are going, blip, they go and they zap into each other, and they communicate that way. Same thing with bacteria. A bacteria will hit another bacteria, will communicate with another bacteria, and instantaneously learn the solution to any problem that this bacteria has overcome. So things like antibacterials, which exist in nature, right? Bacteria has been dealing with things trying to kill it for longer than humans have been here, like literally much, much longer than humans are here. So like humans are developing antibacterial medication, and the bacteria is like, this is nothing for us to overcome. And then that's where we get what we call super bacteria that are antibacterial resistant, because they're intelligent, and they're intelligent because they share information. Somewhere along the journey, we stopped doing that. We stopped feeling into each other and learning from each other and recognizing that all of us are a conduit of individual experience that is meant for the collective. So we are living our life experience. It's our responsibility to be learning through our life experience so that when we interact with others of our species, we can transmit in a moment the totality of our experiences. And that's happening. Whether you have the receptors to feel it or to recognize it or not, it's happening, guys. There's so much information going into our body that we do not have conscious recognition of. So many. Let me give you an example. Because there's gates. There's gates in our consciousness that are gating out irrelevant information. And if you have determined another person's experience is irrelevant to you, your consciousness will tune it out. Just like, you guys know, and this is going to be funny to me, but you guys know the certain culture of people that always have a fire alarm going off in the background, that beep, beep. I'm not going to say who, because that might be racist, but if you know what I'm talking about, then is that really, maybe you're racist. Or you might have a fire alarm. I know when I was in college, we didn't give a crap about that stuff. It would just be going off forever. You stop hearing it eventually, right? Or if you unplug your refrigerator and you're like, wait, that's been making that noise this whole time. I've never heard of it. The refrigerator is really loud, you guys, and you hear it every single day. You unplug it, noise is gone, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize I was hearing that noise. No, but there's parts of your body that did. It's just been gated from your consciousness. Here's another example. You're walking through a busy party. Let's say there's 200 people in a room, and then all of a sudden you hear your name. Those gates in your conscious awareness open up. This is relevant information. I'm going to let my consciousness become aware of this sound that I know is important. Then we look in the direction, we even know where it comes from. We look in the direction of this important information. Why? Because there was a part of us that was listening to every single sound. Every single sound was being recognized and determined important or not. Every single sound in that room. And the sound that was important gets released into your consciousness. So what I'm saying is that we are like the bacteria. We are like that ant. We are here to learn from each other. We can gather information from each other in a moment's instance. If we open up our channels, open up our gates, become receptive to that, and also start living in alignment to that philosophy that we're here to learn and engage with life in a way that progresses ourself, progresses reality, because we are a component of the whole, and it's our responsibility to progress, to evolve, to integrate. And that's where we find happiness. It's when we are on purpose and progressing. That's another definition of what we know of is happiness. But really, happiness is just alignment. It's feeling like you fit. I'm going to end it there. I could talk forever about this. Guys, thanks for the questions. Also, if you want to show up to that call tomorrow, going to be a lot of people on there. DM raw of earth, raw_of_earth, OPP. DM op. I've got an automation set up. Yes, if you want to talk to me, I'll see it either way. I'm here every week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific. And thank you guys all for being here. And my invitation for you is to start recognizing the lesson plan. The lessons are not onboarding at your work or K through 12 or bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate degree. That's not the lesson plan, guys. Daily life is the lesson plan. Daily life is the mystery school. It's the initiation school that we're all here for. It doesn't end when you get the diploma and you throw the hat. That's not the ending. That's actually when you get released out into the world and get to learn without the chains and the limits and the boundaries of the textbooks and the teachers that are force feeding you information. And they're the ones asking questions to you, and you have to answer with their correct answers. You get out of that with school and you get to learn freely and openly, and hopefully not with their design controlling you. And so my invitation is to breathe into that and accept this responsibility to progress as a human, so that when you bump tentacles with another human, you're valuable and you're leaving an imprint that evolves this reality. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.